The first episode of Outlander Season 6 is Echoes, which aired on March 6, 2022. As the prospect of the Revolutionary War looms over Fraser's Ridge, Claire and Jamie continue their fight to safeguard those they love. When an old adversary from Ardsmuir comes up to settle on the ridge, Jamie's authority is truly tested. Claire finds a new way to cope with the trauma of Lionel Brown's assault. Before we get into it, more details about Episode 1, please click on the like button. It helps our channel grow. Inside Ardsmuir Prison in 1753, a mishmash of Scottish inmates quarrels with one another. Some boundaries have been established. The battle lines have been drawn. Unhappily, the governor has learned that Jamie is popular among the guys through his greatest prisoner, Tom Christie, and has requested MacDoob to tighten up the filthy clan. Jamie is pushed out the door after accepting, but not before noticing Christie and the governor shaking hands strangely. Jamie goes back to his cell and helps a young man named James, who has lost his sight. He's also lost a lock of hair that his beloved Rebecca had given him before he was imprisoned. The boy reveals that he doesn't remember Rebecca's face and asks Jamie to show him how to cope after losing his wife. Jamie's expression changes. He advises James to take comfort in the notion that some guys will never comprehend or experience love in the same way that they have. If Rebecca adores James as much as he adores her, he will easily be able to conjure up her image in his mind whenever he wants. James's anxious soul is soothed, and he relaxes. Unfortunately, the squabble in the prison yard the next day turns brutal, and James is killed in a brawl. When one of the men drapes a swatch of tartan on James's chest, the red coat on duty threatens to flog everyone unless they admit to owning an illegal piece of plaid fabric. For claiming the tartan, Jamie is sentenced to 10 lashes. The detainees are forced to gather around Jamie, who just winces with each whipping. Christie has a fair skin tone. Even adult men squirm when they see blood. Jamie, on the other hand, drifts off into a zen-like trance, his gaze fixed on something far away. Claire appears as a hazy figure that becomes more defined as the scene progresses. Jamie's nefarious tactics have angered the governor. He wants to know why Jamie disobeyed his orders to keep the situation under control. Jamie adds that some guys are drawn to Christie, while others are drawn to him. There can be no control where there is division. Making Jamie a Freemason like Christie is a straightforward solution. The governor and Christie's awkward handshake served as a metaphor. For the sake of his soldiers, Jamie is willing to make this change. They'll listen to him, and he believes the Pope will approve of his decision to join the Freemasons as long as he believes in a higher power. Jamie pitches the proposal to his men, demanding an end to the pointless combat. They are all Scots, despite the fact that they are a mix of Catholics, Protestants, and Jacobites. The prison will now serve as a lodge for Freemasons who are united in their belief in great universe architects. There will be no more politics. There will be no more religion. The scenario abruptly shifts to North Carolina in 1773. We see an hourglass that is menacingly counting down the minutes. The revolution is on its way. With each sand drop, we're coming closer. Claire is also sprawled out on a bed, clumsily. It's too bad Jamie isn't informed. He experiences a heart attack because he believes his wife has gone to meet Christ. Claire awakens from her nap after several strong shaking, looking ecstatic. Claire has successfully recreated ether. By recalling a letter from Major MacDonald, Jamie dampens Claire's good mood a little. He appears to want Jamie to be a Indian agent, which is a fancy way of saying that he needs someone to persuade the Indians to fight for the monarch. Jamie had a tough time getting a pass. He wants to spend time with his wife, family, and neighbors in peace. When Jamie and Claire left to visit on Marcelli's visibly pregnant body, Roger and Bree let a visitor who has come to see Jamie inside their home. Tom Christie stares back expectantly as Roger reads the flyer inviting any man who served jail time at Ardsmuir to reside at Fraser's Ridge. Roger is adamant that his father-in-law, as well as the men and ladies accompanying him from the old land, will be overjoyed to see Christie. They've even bonded over their shared past as schoolteachers. Jamie and Claire return just as Christie is inquiring about a church. The Frasers' non-verbal, "what the hell" conversations are funny. Because of their family's secrecy, they've become experts at reading each other's facial expressions. Christie is greeted with a warm embrace. Claire considers whether inviting Tom Christie to stay the night is the best decision. It entails a significant increase in food and clothing. Jamie feels bad for Christie since he received word that his wife had died when he was at Ardsmuir. He recalled how the thought of Claire being alive and well had gotten him through a lot of difficult times. He can't picture life without her because she's always been there for him. Jamie admits that he feels she's an angel at times. Claire then takes him to bed, demonstrating that she is quite genuine. Jamie, Roger, and Bree go camping the next day with Christie, his children Marva and Alan, and the other men and women of religion. Christie's prayer is interrupted by Jamie, who explains how things are done on Fraser's Ridge. Cabin Building 101 is the first of 3 buildings in the cabin building series. Meanwhile, young Ian and Alan are out in the woods hunting. Ian's outdated bow and arrow are mocked by Alan, who prefers his dependable rifle and pretty fancy powder horn. A shot is fired the second I say to myself, "That's a strange thing to brag about." The neighborhood crime watch crew is roaming the woods once more, led by the dreadful Richard Brown, brother of the dreadful Lionel Brown. Richard chuckles at Ian, stating he mistook him for an Indian, and reminds the two that the purpose of their committee is to pursue justice. They're going after one of his friends whispers something in Richard's ear. Alan is understandably jittery. Tom Christie isn't a fan of gun-related nonsense. He's also not a big admirer of blood. Christie is nearly knocked out when Claire cleans a wound on his hand and scoffs at Jamie when he offers Christie some wine to help him cope with the discomfort of a minor scrape. Christie stands up and confronts Jamie, thanking Claire for her efforts. "At the very least, mine will be a respectable scar." Jamie invites Christie and his family to dinner at his house. Major MacDonald is there, trying to persuade Jamie to be the Indian agent once more. After firmly shutting him down, the Major slips that if Jamie does not accept the position, it would be given to Richard Brown. A dozen brows furrow as horse boots clop in the distance, following a whirlwind of action that included a drunken Fergus and Roger consoling a tiny boy who wants to go back home. Richard is calling, and he wants Alan arrested for stealing that amazing powder horn. Christie proudly stands in the foreground, insisting that his kid swear he didn't steal the powder horn. Christie demands that Alan apologize to Mr. Brown right away since he can't do it. Then he implores compassion, pledging to punish Alan for his transgressions. Jamie expresses his gratitude to Richard for bringing this to his attention and politely requests that he leave his property. Richard enjoys being the center of attention. Given the scarcity of gunpowder during this period, he wonders if anyone on Fraser's Ridge is harboring a rebel. Christie declares that he and his kid are king's servants. There is no one other. Jamie takes matters into his own hands for the first time. It's his property. This is what he means. He orders Alan to take off his jacket. Jamie then uses a belt instead of a whip to give the boy 10 strokes. The Browns are satisfied and leave. Jamie confronts Major MacDonald, who clarifies that he will accept the position of Indian agent if it means Richard Brown will not be hired. Claire had a nightmare about her rape that night. She makes her way to her lab, boils some ether, and takes a deep breath of it. Finally, she drifts off into a sound, dreamless slumber. Whatever Claire tells Jamie and Bree, this isn't the definition of someone who is in good spirits. Now that's it for today. Let us know in the comments section what your thoughts are about Outlander Season 6 Episode 1, and if you are as excited as us about the series. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel, for more videos like this.